agenda.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a couple of people on from the Portland Housing Bureau who will present on an affordable housing bond. So welcome to both of you. We then want to talk about the school liaison chair, potentially vote. We have 2 people who are interested in that position, which is awesome. Go through the board reports and public comments, and then adjourn about 7:45. Any additions to that? Any changes? All right, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Brad, second.
I'll second this, Casey.
Casey, thank you. Anybody object? Great. All right, well then, that was a quick turnaround. I'm gonna stop sharing, and if you guys want to share, see if you can share, will you, please, Tanya?
Hi, Real. Yes, it looks like it's letting me do that.
Perfect.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Wolfersberger. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm with the Portland Housing Bureau. I'm here with my colleague, Jill. Jill, if you're nearby, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm Jill Chen. I am the PHB Housing Investment Portfolio Preservation Manager. I use she, her pronouns as well. And thank you.
Thanks, Jill. So we wanted to, I help work at the Bureau and work on both of the affordable housing bond programs, the Portland Housing Bond and the Metro Affordable Housing Bond. So tonight we wanted to talk with you a little bit about the Metro Housing Bond and our upcoming bond opportunity solicitation. So just to start out very quickly, I wanted to give a brief overview just to kind of frame our discussion and make sure that everyone is coming from the same kind of foundational understanding of the Metro Housing Bond. This was the bond that was passed by voters in 2018 to generate over $652 million across the Tri-County region. That includes Multnomah, Clackamas, and Washington counties. And it is designed to create housing for new construction types of projects, acquisition, rehab projects, and home ownership is also an eligible use of the Metro bond dollars. So one of the primary focuses of the housing created with the Metro Housing Bond is with a focus on serving people currently left behind in the housing market. And those include communities of color, families with children and multiple generations, people living with disabilities, seniors, veterans, and households experiencing homelessness and/or imminent displacement. Portland receives a proportion of the overall Metro bond goals, that's $652 million. We receive about $211 million within the city of Portland to create 1,475 affordable homes. Of that total production target, we have sub-goals, which include just over 600 units of deeply affordable housing for households earning 30% area median income or below. Excuse me if you can hear pounding, it's from my daughter running upstairs. Apologies for that. One of our other sub-goals is about half of our total units are for family-sized units, so about 737 family-sized units. And when we say family-size, we mean 2 bedrooms or larger. And we have an additional goal to create 300 supportive housing units. So when this bond passed, there was a commitment to voters to implement all of the bond dollars within 5 to 7 years. Portland Housing Bureau has made a commitment to commit funds to projects by 2024. So our work really began, the work in Portland began in 2019 with a direct allocation of Metro bond dollars from Metro to Home Forward for a phase 1 project. PHB's work on the Metro bond really began in earnest in 2020 with the approval of our intergovernmental agreement with Metro and a commitment of funds to 2 phase 2 projects. Since then, we've released an RFQ for supportive housing projects, and we're preparing for a general solicitation to be released this spring. And that's what we're going to talk to you a little bit more in just a minute. Currently, we've committed about 25% of our allocation of bond dollars, or about $50 million. And this graph just kind of demonstrates where we are in terms of meeting all of those sub goals in terms of unit production targets. With the October release of our RFQ for supportive housing, we're making some preliminary headway on our supportive housing unit goals. And some of our 30% AMI goals. You can see kind of all of the areas of targets that we have remaining. So like I mentioned before, we're in the planning process for our Metro Bond Opportunity Solicitation. We also refer to it as the MBOS, and you'll see that acronym in a few places. That planning involves several steps. One is to review and ensure that the solicitation is incorporating all of the policies and priorities and requirements of the city and Metro in order to advance our racial equity goals, to serve our priority communities, and to make progress towards all of those production targets that you saw previously. Our planning also includes the establishment of several different mixes of targets, including the number of units that we're aiming to create, the unit mix, the affordability mix, the PSH targets, and any kind of subsidy, rental assistance or operating subsidies. And we also set subsidy requirements in terms of how much bond funds will be available per unit for new construction and for rehab, acquisition rehab projects. And we also work really closely with our funding partners to braid resources and align with them, particularly with the Joint Office of Homeless Services and with Home Forward for those really critical resources for operating support and rental assistance for the supportive housing units and the units targeted at very low income households. And then finally, we conduct outreach to gather feedback from our community partners and stakeholders. So again, I want to thank you for having us here tonight as part of our outreach process. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jill. She can go over some more specifics about this particular solicitation.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm Jill Chen, the Housing Investment Portfolio Preservation Manager, AKA the manager for all housing, multifamily housing, both rental and home ownership for the city of Portland. As mentioned by Tanya, we have a number of programmatic requirements. And first and foremost, for the programmatic requirements, the most important for us is having affordable housing that are rent regulated for certain area median income homes, families. So all of the units that is produced through the funds that PHB manages are regulated at 60% area median income or below. 60% area median income translates to about $55,000 for a family of 4. So you can see that's fairly low. And then we also have a requirement for 30% area median income. And that of course is about $27,50 or so in terms of family of 4 income. So, so it is expected that we will have a mixture of 60% and 30%. In our programmatic requirements, we also have a maximum subsidy per unit. And that is really to ensure that the city's, you can call it cost, are maintained and managed, and we are able to produce those units in a timely and cost-effective manner. All of the services, this relates to services for the low income and for the supportive services, meaning supportive services are primarily for families and individuals who are homeless or exiting or at risk of homelessness. And we want to make sure that the services are aligned with a different population. So you want to make sure that whatever is whether it's for singles or for families, they're served by the services being provided by the developer and owner. And of course, as part of our critical, you can call it, implementation of the Metro bonds is to lead with racial equity. Next slide, please. And when we lead with racial equity, the main question we're trying to address is who are being served and who are benefiting. And it weaves through a number of different areas by prioritizing teams with culturally specific partnerships, making sure that these partnerships are able to serve the priority populations. These are the ones that was previously mentioned, especially from communities of colors, those which are elderly or those are at risk of displacement. We also have low barrier screening criteria, and this is to ensure that the folks who are in need are actually able to, you can call it, screen in instead of screen out, and delivering culturally responsive and specific services to meet their needs. Last and a critical component of ours is this tracking of, you can call it, certified services. This is a long acronym, DMWSB. It stands for Disadvantaged Minority Women, Emerging Small Business, Service Disabled Veteran Contract Utilization. These are certified by the state, and they are based on those different acronyms. And for the city and our particular program in housing, we have a hard cost contracting requirement of 30% to be under certified cost. And for the soft, it's 20%. Next slide, please. As mentioned by Tanya, we have the supportive housing services measure that is weaving in the funds to support those who are homeless and at risk of homelessness. And I apologize, there may be some banging in the background. My kids are setting table for dinner. So our main work here is to ensure that the building itself has the ability to serve the population. And with the supportive housing measure, which was passed, gosh, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 2020, we are able to use the Metro funds and the Multnomah County funds to provide both the rental support and the service support. And all these funds are going to be braided, especially through the coordination with Joint Office of Homeless Services and Metro, and making sure that the homeless and those at risk of homelessness and the very low income individuals are being served. Next slide, please. Our current, this slide shows our current projects that already have Metro bonds. A number of them are already in construction, and a few of them are also in the pre-development stage. You'll note that under the Metro housing bond, there is no locational preference. So anywhere that is viable, we will be looking at those options. Next slide, please. As part of the solicitation, we are looking to provide $75 million in Metro bonds and $5.5 million in Central East Side urban renewal area tax increment financing. So that $5.5 million is restricted to the Central East Side, and that's the blue portion that you see on the map. Out of the 80 million, we are expecting maybe about 550 units plus minus in the neighborhood of between 5 to 8 projects. This is similar in terms of scope and scale of our current Portland housing bond. And we expect to be able to meet a number of our targets. In addition to the number of units, we're also hoping to have 100 permanent supportive housing units. And there is caps on the subsidy that this Housing Bureau will provide, $143,000 per unit for new construction and 110 thereabouts for acquisition rehab. Next slide, please. In addition to the money that is going to be put out, and one of the critical reasons we're here with the is the 2 sites that PHB will be inserting in this particular solicitation. One is a site that is PHB owned, that is 5020 North Interstate. This is a permit-ready project, originally targeted by PHB for home ownership. And given the downturn with coronavirus, we have now switched it to rental. So it's already pre-designed, permit-ready, 64 units, predominantly 2 and 3 bedrooms. The other site is on 72nd and Gleason. This is a Metro-owned site. It is 1.7 acres, and we expect that it will be able to produce about 125 to 150 units. And then in addition to the sites that are city-owned and Metro-owned, we're looking at additional sponsor-controlled sites or new projects that will produce the rest of the units for family size as well as PSH. Next slide. So in terms of developing the MBOS, we're aligning, as Tanya mentioned, we're aligning the different funding. And in terms of looking at the path for, you can call it coming in and being awarded, the 2 different paths are looking at prioritizing permanent supportive housing, and based on conversation with the Joint Office of Homeless Services, they've asked us to prioritize singles and couples. So that would be primarily in the studio, 1-bedroom, smaller size units, with maybe we're looking at maybe some dedicated PSH sites with 40 units each. The second path and a separate path with family size units that will then enable us to meet the other side of the Metro requirements, which is production of 50% family size units. Next slide, please. And I think this goes back to you, Tanya.
Yes, thanks, Jill. So this is just a snapshot of kind of our schedule ahead. We're currently doing outreach activities through early April. We have an upcoming mandatory meeting for any developers who are interested in submitting a proposal through the solicitation for a mandatory equity and contracting meeting in early April. And then we're hoping to release the solicitation by the end of April, early May, with the hopes of announcing funding awards by this coming fall. So part of what we wanted to bring to you, not only because we know you have a little interest with our 5020 site being inserted into the solicitation, but also want to just get general feedback on the solicitation planning itself. Do you see any challenges in implementing the plan that we've outlined? What are we missing? Is there anything you're excited about or conversely not excited about? And we'd love to hear your feedback and also answer any questions that you may have for whatever time we have left.
All right, thanks you guys, appreciate that. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
About 5 minutes, yeah.
Out of curiosity, on the set-asides, are utilities covered, or will these occupants be paying electricity, or how does that work? Is the city including anything like that?
For most of the buildings that are created, the tenant pays a fixed sum, and usually there is the utilities are paid as either as part of that, you can call it total rent, so the rent will include that, or if it's charged separately, the landlord or the owner of the building cannot make the tenant, meaning the rent plus utilities, cannot exceed a certain maximum level. And I think right now, let me just take a quick look at it. For example, right now, a 2-bedroom apartment at the 60% area median income, it is $1,243 a month.
I have a question about the 5020 site. So is that was that Proud Ground and now it is turned over and
Yes.
they've given up?
It's not that they've given up. I
Okay.
think it is a Proud Ground site though, and we work very hard with Proud Ground. Unfortunately, when, as you know, the 5020 site is also subject to the preference policy. The site is at Interstate and Alberta. And because of the, we call it the market downturn with Corona, a number of the lower income preference policy home buyers were not able to, it was deemed that it was going to be very hard to purchase the buildings once they were built. And also the construction lender did not feel comfortable that there would be sufficient, sort of sales to do the takeout of their construction loan. So after about a year, I think Proud Ground decided it was best to give the site up for redevelopment.
And so just conjecture here, is that because the folks who maybe could have purchased those units are tapped out because the lower income folks were the ones that primarily lost their jobs during this?
That could be one of those, you can call it assumptions. Based on what I'm seeing in some of our other projects, these are rental units at 60% and 30%. For example, one building we have about 40% are at non-payment right now. So with the home ownership, a number of the construction lender deemed that it was a little risky, and the potential for getting that construction loan repaid was rather high. So
Thank you.
they withdrew it.
Can I piggyback on Brad's question there? I tried to put it in the chat, but does that mean that Proud Ground is getting their equity back out of the plot and is going to be able to do a Proud Ground building elsewhere? Because to me, the philosophy behind Proud Ground seems like it is being lost.
Proud Ground in this particular case, we had tried to make them whole. PHB actually gave Proud Ground a $1 million pre-development loan, and that is being in the process of being written off. So as part of this, in order to convert it to rental, Proud Ground assigned to PHB all the rights to all the plans, as well as any of the you can call it consulting reports, including environmental, geotech, and any of the associated reports that's needed for any other developer in order to develop the project.
And I
Thank
think,
you.
in addition to your question, Caroline, you were asking about ownership of the land. The land is owned by PHB. It had not been transferred to.
And Carol, I think in answer to also to your question, my understanding in working through with,
PHB's ownership.
oops,
Your connection is bad.
oops, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jill, we can hear you.
I can hear you fine.
Yes,
Tanya's
I can hear
frozen.
you fine.
Tanya's frozen, yeah.
Someone
Okay.
else's voice got budged in, but
Okay, what Tanya was saying is that the land was never transferred to Proud Ground, and this is a PHB owned site. Also, my understanding of working with Proud Ground and Diane and her team was that much of the funds that they had used was actually fundraised. There were grants that was given to them by different organizations for the development of 5020. And that's where between PHB and the different, you can call it funding streams, we're trying to ensure that Proud Ground was not going to be impacted. And they can do other projects on their own too.
Okay, I appreciate that extra information. Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. All right, we have time for one more question if anybody has a quick one.
It's just logistics. If we do have more questions, or if the residents are questioning, should they submit this to Tanya down here with this email, or is there another website they can go to for updates?
Best is probably Tanya at this Tanya Wolfsberger, portland.com. I mean, .gov, portlandoregon.gov.
Okay.
Great. Put that
I'll
in.
send out a copy of these slides to Alexandra afterwards, so you all can have a copy of this with my email address.
Great, that's awesome.
And are those, I'm just curious, are those postable? I mean, is it okay to put them up on our website, or if we want to, or not?
Yeah, I think that's okay. We share them with you and they're out there.
Okay. I did just wanted to make
I
sure.
appreciate you asking, but yes. And we'll be, there's a little bit of information on our website currently. We'll be posting more as things develop and as we get closer to releasing this, so you can check back.
Great. Well,
Great,
thank you
thanks.
so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So we're going to do a slight deviation from the agenda to allow Tom Hughes, who works for Adidas and can introduce himself, to give a brief update on several of the topics that we have discussed at a couple of the other meetings. So, Tom.
Well,
hand it over to you.
sorry to be a deviation, but wish I could see all of you in person. Tom Hughes, Corporate Affairs Manager for Adidas. Two big topics that we had going with the village. One, we're 99.9% done, so you shouldn't see a whole lot of disruption. Alexandra, thank you for the great article that you, Lee, whoever wrote in the newspaper. That was great. We had an issue with our lights being on at night. I've been told that's solved. Correct me if I'm wrong, but corporate real estate said we had some issues when we wired the building and it wasn't wired to be programmed to turn off at night. All the buildings are LEED certified, so they should be turned off at night. Let me know if that's not the case. We had a slight delay with the cycle track that we're building on behalf of PBOT. Turner, to their charter, can't work if there's paraphernalia and drugs and needles and so forth. We contacted PBOT. PBOT came in and cleaned up the camps. I was there 4 or 5 days ago. It looks like the cycle track's almost done. And the goal was going to be to have a big open house for the neighborhood once we were done. We'll see what COVID brings us, but know that once COVID's over, we will have an open house for the neighborhood to come in and see the buildings and so forth. And I would like to remind everybody, if you have any and all concerns, overlook@adidas.com is the email address. I'm actually the guy that checks that. So if you have any concerns or issues, please feel free to email us and we'll get you an answer within 24 hours. So if anybody has any questions, let me know.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? I have one on occupancy. Like, when are people going to start coming back, if you know that?
We have been told as of a couple days ago, it won't be till after 4th of July. And once we do that, it will be in waves. So people who have to touch things, 3D printers, developers, and so forth. But July 4th right now is the official date to think about it. April 1st was the date to think about it, and that got pushed out to July 4th. So
great.
It's going to be quiet for a while.
Do you have an anticipated date on when you're going to be at whatever full occupancy is?
I haven't the faintest idea. I mean, it's a moving target. Right now, there's like 30 people at the village. It's facilities and security maintaining the campus.
Yeah.
But, you know, even say after July 4th, you know, and I'm guessing 10-15% of the employees will show up. It's going to be a while before we're back at full speed.
And one reason I ask about that is the parking permit program is expiring any day now.
Yep.
And they're going to go ahead and the city's going to take out the signs. We're going to be back to where we were.
Yep.
And so I was trying to gauge when we might need to revisit, not Adidas funding it, but if we want to go back to having a permit program, the traditional neighbor paid type, when we would need to explore that. So it sounds like it's very late in the year at earliest. At the earliest,
We will have ample parking for all of our current employees, plus future for the next 2-3 years. Given COVID, you know, like every other company, we're exploring who's working from home. I mean, I've been working from home for over a year now. So it'll be interesting to see how many, you know, what percentage of employees come back full time and which ones work from home and what kind of a hybrid we do. But if everybody came back tomorrow, we have ample parking for everybody. So the parking permit thing should not be an issue.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Yep.
And I think my year at home anniversary might be today. So happy anniversary to me.
It was March 9th that they told us to stay at home. So
yeah, for me.
Yeah, okay.
I think I was another week behind you. So anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm glad to hear that you've made progress on the other issues. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So like I said, if anybody has any issues, you have the email address. Don't hesitate to reach out and I will get an answer to you one way or the other within 24 hours.
Awesome. Thank you. Any additional
thanks,
questions
Alexander.
before he calls off, logs off? All right. Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Take
See you,
care.
everybody.
Bye. All right. All right. The next thing on the agenda is the school liaison chair. So what I'm going to do, I see Sidonia is on and oh, there you are, Stacy. Stacy's on. So both of you had expressed interest in the position, and Cassie, I think you had talked to both of them about potentially being co-chairs.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And if that's acceptable to both of you guys, then that would be great. What I would have you guys do is just give a couple-minute introduction to yourselves and why you're interested in that position, if you don't mind.
Before doing that, sorry, I wasn't at the March 2nd meeting. Could we just go over exactly what I'm interested, but a little bit more details of what all it entails?
Yeah, can somebody give that? We talked about it last time. It's basically like working with the schools, well, checking in with the schools. It's a liaison position, so it's not, you know, you're not doing any advocacy, you're not, you know, there's nothing really required. It's just kind of tracking what the schools are doing and reporting it back to the neighborhood association board as well as the general neighborhood.
A little bit of cross promotion, cross pollination. So if we've got big events going on, sometimes, especially with both of these schools, they don't necessarily, the people attending are not necessarily living in the neighborhood. And so it's an opportunity for folks to hear about what's going on in the neighborhood and what's going on at the schools.
So in saying that, is that something that is still interesting to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Cassie, do you want to?
Yeah, I know that you both kind of sent little blurbs over. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and kind of summarize that introduction paragraph that you sent through to me, that would be great. Just to give a little intro.
And start. I'm Stacy Newsell, and I have a son that attends the Ivy School. And we've lived in the neighborhood since 2015. And I know, so prior to Ivy being located at that location, it was Trillium Charter School, and my son happened to go there also. And when he was a student there, we had some community partnering projects. I know that Cynthia and Marcy were involved with meeting with the students about parks in the neighborhood, and the contact person at Trillium also, it was like a placemaking project that she had received a grant for. There were tours in the neighborhood with the students. Many business owners welcomed the students in just so they could get a flavor for the neighborhood that they don't necessarily live in. I know at Ivy right now, there are some Overlook residents who have children that attend Ivy, but not really that many. And I mentioned this chair position to the PTA last week, and they seem really excited about it. There hasn't been much outreach to the neighborhood from the school so far because they've only occupied the building since September of 2019, kind of getting their bearings straight, and then COVID hit. So they were excited to pursue these connections for the next school year. I foresee us doing partnerships like that. And also, like Brad said, like finding out what the schools are doing, and the schools finding out what the neighborhood is doing. And Ivy has a great fundraiser coming up right now for plants and vegetable starts. So I can submit that information to be shared in the newsletter, and any other events that we have coming up, I can share. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing an online auction. I think Beach proceeded with theirs last year, but information like that we can share. And I guess that's it. I mean, the possibilities really are endless. I mean, since we're located here. And
yeah, that's great, Stacy. Stacy, just so you know, I'm the person who writes the newsletter, so you can email me that information. I'd be happy to put it in into the weekly update. Yep.
Great.
Cool. Thanks, Stacy.
Hey everyone, again, my name is Sidonia Simpson. I use she and her pronouns. So my background, I'm right off Killingsworth and Interstate near Patton Square Park. My boyfriend Corey and I have been here for about 2 years. I work as a transition specialist with Multnomah Education Service District. So not in elementary schools, but we work typically late middle school to high school. So I work with, particularly I work with Black justice involved youth, but that's just my day job. I don't have any children. And I am just interested in the position so that I can participate more in things in my neighborhood and build connections. I've done lots of different things in the past, like event planning. I've had community garden plots over at Patton and Kenton in the past. And my job is really flexible, so I could easily build, I mean, if we needed a little bit more hands-on, I know that Alexandra, you mentioned that it wouldn't be necessarily hands-on position as much, but if we needed that, I could definitely like shift into something like that. And I'm really excited to be here. This is my first meeting and to meet everyone virtually, and hopefully we'll be able to gather and chat in person.
Yeah, hopefully someday soon. Well, thank you. All right, so to the board, Brad, I sent you a text, but you didn't read it.
I don't think it's necessary in this case.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So, so the board members, does anybody want to make a motion to have Sidonia and Stacy co-chair the school's liaison position?
This is Marcy. I move that we have Stacy and I'm sorry. What was the other name? Sidonia. Sorry, I apologize for missing that. Be the co-chairs for the school liaison project company.
Great. Second.
Second.
Yeah, second.
This is Brad.
All right, anybody in opposition? All right, hearing
Thank you,
none.
Sedonia, and thank you, Stacy.
My pleasure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you
excited
guys.
to have you guys on.
Thanks for the help. Very much appreciated, for sure.
And just to let you know, the newsletter comes out quarterly, but then the emails come out every week. So sometimes the fundraisers, for instance, you'll know far enough ahead, but other things you might not. So both will work.
Yep.
Great.
Cool. Thank you.
Might I throw in a request? Whoever's in touch with Ivy, I don't know what their status is now. I see a car over there every now and then. I don't check often, but the sidewalk and everything out front has been a mess for a long time, and even through the winter. So I don't know. Maybe I should just go over and go through their gate and ask who's supposed to be maintaining their
Is that on the North Maryland side or on the interstate side?
interstate side. Yeah, that's where the main entrance, as far as I'm concerned, is for the school. The students come in from the Maryland side,
Right.
but I don't think, I'm not sure. There must be a pedestrian gate, either that or an open door at that end, but it doesn't have the tree debris and everything like that that interstate does.
Okay, are you talking about like the vegetation along the side of the building there?
Yeah, on the sidewalk.
Like the brush on the, like trash?
No, mainly leaves and broken
Yeah.
branches and stuff like that, and just it never got cleaned up from the fall.
I'll mention it to them. I know they have a committee within the PTA for grounds, and they had a spring cleanup last spring. And I guess with
A year
COVID, they
ago.
just haven't been able to have any in person. But there are administration has been in the building like every day pretty much throughout COVID, and they are expecting half of the student body to show up for in-person learning in early to mid-April. So there will be bodies around, and I'll definitely mention it to the administration and the PTA, and hopefully we can get something together to improve the mess out there.
Are you
Cool.
talking about from when the trees fell down? Like all the trees?
No, it's just debris. It's like leaves and litter and like a
But I
few
can
branches
See from my house.
on the interstate side.
I walk over there frequently.
Yeah.
And I can take a peek, Stacy, and send you a picture if you'd like.
Great. If you guys will
Okay.
take a look and then
Appreciate your
report
help on
back,
that.
that'd be great.
I was going to mention we walk by there every day to go get coffee at a new business that just opened. And I've seen 6 or 7 people coming in and out, cleaning things, organizing the building. So I think that's already in the works.
Awesome.
That's good to hear. That's great to hear.
Good.
I think,
right.
and since neither of you have kids at beach, that will be, especially as beach is getting ready to reopen as well, I think it will be important to communicate the reopening of both schools so that people are also, we're going to get blasted with the usual school buses or whatever, be careful and that you hear in the fall. But we're going to get it again here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I'm sure I put a note in the newsletter or the update this week about schools opening and just Governor Brown's announcement, but there wasn't a for sure timeline yet. So as things start to percolate and we have a for sure timeline, I'm happy to send that information out. So I'll keep looking out for it. But if you see it and because your kids are at Ivy, and I don't know if Ivy is going to be on the same schedule as Beach, so feel free to send me whatever information you have, because I'd like to send that out as we find it out.
They're staggering, like the very lower kindergarten and lower elementary are starting April 1st, and then 4th grade, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Okay.
April, and I think they're holding off on the middle school students like that. I mean, for now, so they'll stagger.
If you have some sort of written announcement where that's listed out and you can email it to
I'll
me,
let you-
that'd be
And
great.
I have some contacts for parents at the beach school, so I can reach out to them or contact admin there to see if they want to give us some periodic updates for things like that.
Yep, that's great too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Which is a good lead into the board reports. We'll count that as the first official school liaison board report. Do any of the other board members have updates? I know Casey, you do. Anybody else?
Oh, Casey can go first. I'm
Yeah.
sure he has something.
Oh, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to give an update, two updates, really. One is that I spoke last week to the Portland City Council. I had 3 lovely minutes of discussion on the update on the homeless camp, which is Hazelnut Grove. And essentially, it was just a platform to reiterate what we had in our letter specifically to Hazelnut Grove. Reason why, because the last 2 weeks at the city council, they had the 3 other people who were speaking on behalf, but they did not have anyone from the Overlook Neighborhood Association. So essentially 3 minutes, which seems like a long time. It's not. We had to rattle off what I provided to the board ahead of time. So I'm not sure if that's worthy of including in the minutes or not, but just for the record, I was able to send it off to the board ahead of time, just a statement about, which is a excerpt from our letter we submitted to the city of Portland. No comments, no, really nothing besides, what I provided besides a thank you. So that happened last Wednesday. Second to that, and just for everyone else's sake who's maybe new here, I'm this sole committee member, still looking for people to join for the Homeless Update Committee. And for most of our job is to just update our neighbors, all residents, of what's happening in regards to homeless camping and homeless issues around. We're not advocacy, just simply updating. I did connect with Johnny Lewis from he's a program coordinator with the city of Portland, Office of Management and Finance and Homelessness and Urban Camping Impact Reduction Program. That's a mouthful. Hopefully, sorry for whoever's taking minutes, but Johnny Lewis, he has been pretty involved with a lot of neighborhoods for quite some time about updating everyone on homelessness. I haven't heard from him in a while for the last 4 months, so I outreached to him to ask him what is the latest within the city and also as well as neighborhoods about homelessness and as well as reporting on it. And he said there's not much to report. Just give you a cool small excerpt from what he said. I do not have much of a way of updates other than to continue to work with the county health with regards to updating our programs policy. While nothing official has been changed just yet, a change is forthcoming. As the COVID vaccine becomes more widely available, we too can also update our program's approach to full site removals. That said, this has been an extremely challenging year for everyone, and many locations in town have accumulated large amounts of materials. What normally might take our crews a day or 2 to complete is now taking a week or 2 to complete as crews work their way through large job sites. And so for reporting, the reporting mechanisms for campsites is for either portlandoregon.gov/campsites, and then through the PDX reporter, which is pdxreporter.org. So that's really the latest. Certainly, it's related or unrelated, but there has been a new city council committed to trash pickup. And the recent Oregonian extensive article on the Sunday paper covered this, as well as a new program or committee that's been designated by, or deputized, I should say, by former Mayor Samuel Adams. So a lot there. I'm going to continue to update as well. My only question here is where can I post updates, as opposed to, verbalizing them during our committee or during our board meeting. Is there a spot that I can designate or provide on our website? So that's my only question I have.
Would you want to make like a homeless committee update as a blog post and we can post it that way? I
think so. I want to stop from just conjecture. I want to be more of just factual, updates as much as possible. So yeah, a blog would be fine. I can use that as a way to at least inform me.
Does that work for everyone else?
Is anybody opposed to that?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great.
Is that a no comments blog?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I can only imagine what that would get. So, but again, updating on things are going on city, other neighborhoods. The other part too is other neighborhoods. They're in the same situation we are as far as getting updates from the city or just the situation at hand. But we're joining forces as far as sharing information. So, if that was a value of interest to people, we'll continue to post that up. So, blog would be great. I'm happy to do it. I would need access or any other kind of requisite review before it's posted.
I guess my only question would be, would this be something that we include in our normal weekly update, or would we do a special send that's solely based around the homeless committee updates?
Yeah, that's the other way to do it. Is put it in the weekly update, right? If it's notifications.
Yeah, I guess
and
that's
information.
It. I'm not sure if it's going to be weekly. Just
yeah, it wouldn't have to be weekly at all. But whenever you had them, I could put them in the weekly update as part of that, or we could do a larger update if there was enough.
Sure. Okay. And then what would be the mechanism? I don't know who would I submit that to for the blog, or to give me access to the blog so I could post. Just those.
I do the weekly update, so if you're sending something to be put into that, you could just send it directly to me and I'll add it in. If you would like to do a special update that would be on its own, then you could I could give you access and we could do it that way. Either way.
Excellent. Good, thank you. Great. Any questions?
Looks like Kelsey sent you a chat.
Oh, hey, Casey. My name is Kelsey. I'm new to the neighborhood, just moved into the neighborhood. I thought I heard you say that you're looking for folks to join your committee. I would be interested if you're needing any assistance.
Oh, great. No, that'd be wonderful. And what I can do while we'll listen to the other board report, I can send you my contact information and maybe we can correspond through email to introduce ourselves. That'd be great.
Sounds great.
Thank you, and welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you so much.
The weather's like this all the time around here.
Oh, I'm not new to Portland. I just moved. I moved a mile down the street into Overlook, so I'm just officially homeowner in Overlook now.
Okay, good.
Great.
Good.
Welcome.
Welcome,
Casey. Thanks, Kelsey. Casey and Kelsey and Cassie. Say that 3 times fast.
This is going to be really fun.
All right. Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it.
I would like to say, Casey, that Terrence Moses, who's down in Kenton, he goes out and picks up trash at all of the homeless sites around Portland or around North Portland. And his comment a while ago was the problem is people keep putting out mattresses and then they get drugged down to homeless camps and then they sit in the rain. And like when they cleaned the camps on going in February, it was 4 boxcar trucks and it took them 3 days to clean that because there was so much stuff there. And he actually put a plea out on Nextdoor for people to stop putting stuff out for free because they end up in the camps.
Yep.
And it's not just mattresses. I think it's everything.
Yeah. But mattresses were the worst.
Might be an update item too, right?
Yeah. Again, I don't want to distinguish the two. However, if you haven't read the article on Sunday we're going, it's pretty extensive, but it went through a lot of details as far as how and where this information, this trash is coming from, how and why the trash hasn't been picked up. It kind of makes sense. It's not ideal, but yet hopefully things will be changing post-COVID and this new thing that former Mayor
Adams.
Yep.
Yeah. It would just be nice to see people that want to get rid of something for free just stop putting it outside until somebody comes and picks it up. But what happens is, where I live, I'm right by the pedestrian overpass on going and Concord, and so people put stuff out on the corner, and I watch it all get dragged down to the Going Street camps, and then 6 months later I watch it get picked up by the city. So and it's a mess. So
Yes.
people just need to take a little bit more time, and if you want to get rid of something for free, do it, or just pay the dump fee instead of thinking that you're going to put your crap out there and somebody else wants it.
Could be a good update item.
Just want to share, there's a,
items.
Sorry, I don't know logistics and what I should, if it's okay for me to speak up, but one resource that I've been using since moving to Portland for getting rid of things is my local Facebook group, Buy Nothing group. To join a group, every jurisdiction like every neighborhood has a Buy Nothing group that you have to join and certify where you live, and it's moderated by people in the neighborhood, and you do contactless pickup. You can post your items, and that way, instead of like giving your items to like a Goodwill or like a Salvation Army where a profit is made off of it, it goes to people directly in the neighborhood. So not sure if that's something people would be interested in exploring. I've used it a lot for like getting rid of moving boxes to help other people who are moving as well, or even clothing or things you don't want or need anymore that are in good condition.
Great.
Thank you. I completely agree.
All right. Well, thanks, Casey. Thanks, everybody, for the update. Anybody else? Any other board members have an update?
I can mention the response from Union Pacific.
Okay, great.
We got a note back from a representative about our letter we sent. For those who are just joining today, the Neighborhood Association sent a letter about a couple weeks ago just about some air pollution from the Union Pacific rail yard, and asking them to look into buying some equipment to reduce those potentially harmful toxic emissions. And so, yeah, and their response was pretty quick. It was just kind of a note basically asking us to provide all of the data that was cited in the letter. And so working with Clean Air, got access to all that today. And I'll be sharing that with them and just keeping everyone up to date on hopefully some actions that they are able to implement.
Thanks. And we also sent out all the letters. I did. So that might be something that we discuss at the next board meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Whether we approve those letters. So that was the other piece.
Yeah, please review.
And
I'll send out another reminder.
I was looking through those letters, and the letters that we're talking about are letters that other neighborhoods have had similar issues with, usually industries that are close to them, but it's not our neighborhood necessarily. I was reading one of those, and I think that they actually have kind of significant typo, like a with instead of a without the piece of equipment that's being, so without the scrubber or whatever it is. Who should get those typos for review?
You can send that to me, and I'll let Greg know. I think he's the one that kind of documents and stores all that information. So,
okay, I'll do that after the meeting. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Grant. Any other board updates? You talk about your cat, Brad?
Yeah, the cat. Yes, she's not happy. I do have, let's see, we've got the bank account is running about just under $28,000. Made the payment to Chelsea and to Pamplin for the production and printing of the newsletter. And and we got double the Amazon money we got last quarter. So we're racking it up now. I think we're up to $33 a quarter, but I anticipate we'll keep putting that out there, and it'll add up to, $500 a year by the end of this, and that helps.
Yeah.
So
great.
That's it. Thanks.
Maybe we should talk about, let's think about, we haven't spent the money on anything lately, and if things are going to open up, maybe we can think about, I don't know what we would spend it on, but maybe some kind of event or grants or something. Let's think about that. Maybe at the next meeting or the next meeting after that.
I have a quick question about the newsletters. So the last one we sent out was about mid-February. So would that make the next one about mid-May? Is that correct?
Yeah.
I just want to be keeping it on my radar.
Yeah, mid-May. So that means what? We start
middle of April.
Middle of April, talking about it. Yeah.
So who actually has the schedule?
Alan.
Okay. I think we need to have Alan give it to us in writing. Might be helpful.
I might have it in the documentation.
Okay.
We haven't, but I need to send out and approve. We need to send out next time.
I just want to keep it on my radar to start thinking about ideas.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's talk about it at the next board meeting. Let's start. All right, anybody else before we go to? Yep, George.
George here. Not a whole lot to report on the public safety end of things. The PSAC meeting on Zoom occurred on the 18th, February 18th, and I missed it. I wasn't able to get in. So it turns out there was operator error on my part a little bit, and some situational stuff on their end when they were trying to get it implemented through North Portland Neighborhood Services. And so I talked to Akimi either last night or the night before, and they've ironed the bugs out of that. And I noticed just today, they did send out the link information for the next meeting, which will be coming up here in 2 days on the 18th. Did you get that, Alexandra?
If I did, I have not seen it yet. I will
Okay.
look, and if I did, I'll send it out.
Because I think it did happen today, late this afternoon, while I was out in the yard taking care of business in the sunshine. What can we say? But if anybody else has any interest in that, Akimi Ishikawa and Judith, Clefman are kind of co-chairing that one, and they can be contacted. If I can look at the right note here. At psac.nne.pdx@gmail.com. I'll repeat that just in case. psac.nne.pdx@gmail.com. So the next one's coming up Thursday, and I hope to be able to get into that one. Fingers crossed. Each time is a new adventure. They also did put out some notes from that last meeting, and so you can get those through that website. And the one that Mark Wells did, which is over in Old Town Chinatown, which is the Public Safety Action Coalition, and so that's a separate non-city sponsored not-for-profit organization, which can be politically active, whereas previously they couldn't do that. So, and their last meeting, I didn't get a send to, and that occurs during the day on the second Tuesday of the month. So that'll be coming up in April, the next one. I missed the one that was on the 9th. And their information, because Mark Wells chairs that one, and that's at pdxpsac@gmail.com. That's pdxpsac@gmail.com. I think that's still good for them. And so that the PSAC part of that, the C is not the committee. This is the coalition, but they're on the same track that the committee was. And hopefully sometime here in the near future, they're actually going to iron stuff out where everything kind of fell apart for the PSAC thing in general with the Office of Community Involvement and whatnot. So they're still debugging that one. In the meantime, there's lots of stuff in the press and the paper about the various riots, the fencing going back up downtown around the federal building, and just the fact that as the weather is going to be turning nicer, everybody's fingers crossed that the violence and everything is going to get better under control. But so far, it's not looking good. So it's trickling down to all over the neighborhood. I talked to a guy up here. He's actually in Arbor Lodge, and their storefront front door got busted out, and it was $1,200, and they had plywood up for almost 8 weeks. So he was glad to get the glass back, and he certainly hopes that it doesn't happen again soon. So anyway, we're all on the ride together.
That we are.
Hang on to your socks.
All right. Well, thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Brian, you said you had an update?
Yeah, just there's a pre-application for land use. There's a pre-application conference. Union Pacific is meeting to discuss a new industrial wastewater treatment plant and a fueling system replacement down by Russell and Interstate.
Are they now?
Yeah.
This might be fortuitous timing.
Why?
Because this would be a great time to ask for a whatever the thing that Grant was talking about. I don't remember the type of equipment, but regarding the diesel emissions, we may be able to bring that up in the discussion and say, sounds good, we'll support it if. How big is that, Brian? Sorry to cut you off.
I don't know. It's just a pre-application conference, and it doesn't have that much information on it, but it looks pretty big. The meeting is the 18th. I sent a message to try to get an invitation to go attend the meeting, and we'll see.
My understanding is pre-apps, you can listen, you can't say anything.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Still, that'd be helpful, because that may be our next neighborhood construction project, at least on the industrial side.
Yeah, it might be worth it eventually to bring them in to really discuss more about what is going to come in and what kind of externalities are. So
yeah, it's on the 18th. So maybe at the next meeting we can, depending on how that goes, we can talk about next steps.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any other board members? Any other board updates before we go to public comment? All right. Stacy, you have one. Maybe, Stacy? Maybe not. Any other public? Any other comments from the public?
Well, I'm the public and the secretary, but I would like to say that the shelter to housing continuum project is going to be on tomorrow. I have commented publicly on what I feel is disservice by the city for the fact that we have voted on 2 bond measures over $6 billion. Well, over $500 million to provide affordable housing, and their solution is to put shelters in parks. So that meeting is tomorrow. There's a lot of opposition against using parks as shelters for 180 days, as Chris talked about in the meeting back in February. So I know that they are pushing back the vote, and that meeting is tomorrow, the 17th at 2 o'clock. I know that you can join it via Zoom and see what the decisions are. I actually attended the meeting with Joanne Hardesty a couple weeks ago. She's in favor of using land that we already own to provide shelter and housing. But I kind of feel like that we've given them money, like the 50-20 plot that's on Alberta and Interstate that they have left vacant for 5 years. When I look at places along Interstate and I see that we have apartments built in 6 months, the city can't provide housing. I'm very frustrated by the fact that they think that setting up shelters in our parks are the solution to housing. And I encourage everybody to actually look at the proposal and force our city council to actually come up with the solution instead of just a Band-Aid, which I feel it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Stacy, did you have something?
I'm back now. I'm using my phone, so I somehow lost the screen. I saw your post on Nextdoor. You were seeking volunteers to manage social media, I think you had posted. And some of these things that Marcy and Brian and George just mentioned would like be perfect for like posting reminders on Facebook, like, hey, neighborhood, this meeting's coming up tonight or tomorrow. So like at times in between the general neighborhood meetings, there could be more updates.
Yeah, I think that would be, I think Cassie, yeah, I had posted it. Cassie has been requesting some help. I think the way to do it would be, and I think maybe, hopefully, Cassie, you can respond, but maybe we've been getting better at doing this, but sending updates to Cassie so she can actually, you know, post those onto the weekly update, I think is one thing to start and would be exceptionally helpful. But Cassie, you can jump in.
Yeah. Well, Chris had historically been doing the weekly updates, and he would put things like that into the email that he would send every weekend. But we weren't distributing that email out past our newsletter. So we would send an email and it would be on our website, but we weren't doing anything else with it. What I've started doing in the last 1 or 2 sends was putting that link to our Facebook page so that people could access it from Facebook as well. And it usually has a breakdown of different events that we find during the week. Those types of events get emailed to me. And so I go through the email and look for anything that would be relevant to the neighborhood. But I'm also super open. So if people have events that they think should be included, if you email it to me, that's super helpful because I don't necessarily know about every event. So in the case where George mentioned a meeting 2 days from now, we normally wouldn't send an email in the middle of the week. So it would be better if we could get a schedule for future events and post it more in advance than last minute. I'm happy to post that to Facebook though, because it's a good way to get it out there. But that's kind of been the way that we've been working. And as far as the help that we're looking for, I would love help with, right now I'm doing the newsletter and the email send, as well as the views newsletter and helping put that together. So it has been a lot with Chris leaving. So I'm definitely looking for someone to kind of come on board and help me specifically in editing the newsletter and making sure all of the grammar is right and things like that. So if there's any solid English majors or people who enjoy grammar, I'm looking for you because it's not my thing.
I just sent you my email. I sent a general email back to one of the board email addresses and didn't get a response back, but I sent you my email.
Okay.
I would be open to, I run a graphic design business here in Overlook, so I would be more than willing to help.
Great. I will send you an email.
Great.
Is there a roster with everyone's emails on it?
There's
or?
nothing on the website.
Okay.
And post a link so that I'll look for it really quick so I can post it here for everyone.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So if Cassie, you want to follow up with Stacy and Bo, that'd be great.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Anything else before we close out?
I have one more public thing, and I'll be really quick. So as many of you know, I used to host trivia at the bar Untapped here in the Overlook neighborhood, which unfortunately shut its doors back in October 2020. We have kept our virtual trivia program running every single Wednesday night, and we have raised over $20,000 for nonprofits. We don't charge an admission to play. I would love to work on a future event with the neighborhood association, partnered with raising money for the Overlook House, because I know they need some love and help right now too. And speaking of upcoming events, I included the link there, but we are partnering with Pinky's Pizza here in Overlook neighborhood all month long, giving away gift cards and promoting their specials during our Wednesday night trivia. And part of our Pinky's partnership we have going on, we are partnering with the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Oregon for another big fundraiser coming up. Our goal is to raise $10,000 at that event, which we did the last event we had a fundraiser for. So anyways, if you're interested in playing or know a nonprofit that we should raise money for, please let me know.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you.
And another quick question. Was it at this meeting that we were supposed to be considering some of those, or support for the letters?
Yeah, we'll do that at the next one. Yeah.
At the next board meeting or general meeting?
Board meeting.
At the next board meeting. Okay.
Yep.
My wires crossed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't get my stuff together. So.
Okay.
All right. So Bo, we'll reach out to you on that one as well. That'd be great. We'll have to figure out who. We don't really have a events person anymore. I'll have to figure that piece out. But yeah, we'll stay in touch with you. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. Anything else before we close off? Next board meeting will be April 6th at 6:30 p.m. If board members have agenda items, please let me know. And we will see you guys chat with you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
take
you,
care,
everyone.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you in a couple weeks.
Night.